let you know about that, but I could have been more clear.
Yes. Okay, but that's fine. Don't worry about it.
Okay, so you're good with us taking out name, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's all we'll be doing. Okay, Arthur, thank you for joining us there. Thank you for meeting us today. Can you, I guess we'll just start with you stating your name and your title just so we have print accuracy.
Absolutely. So my name is Arthur Schaper. A is an apple, R rabbit, T teacher, U up, R rabbit, last name Schaper.
Hi, I didn't know there was 3 of you. Would you like another piece of bread?
Sure, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Can I take your take it?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the plate though.
Okay, no
I mean the tray. So here we go. All right, so it's A as an apple, R rabbit, T teacher, H hat, U up, R rabbit. Last name S Sam, C cat, H hat, A apple, P people, E elephant, R rabbit.
All right, very good. And did you have a specific? I know. So first of all, we're here today because of your appearance at the Attorney General talk at Whittier College last Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
So I also wanted to ask if you're the leader of that group and if it had a certain name or
Okay.
you wanted to be.
So we had a lot of people there. We have We the People Rising. So the director is Robin Vidston. That's her name, Robin Vidston. And there's also LA County for Trump. I'm one of the, you could say one of the leaders for that group. We have people from all backgrounds who are part of LA County for Trump, and that was a perfect event for us. It's right there in Whittier. And I am the president of the Beach Cities Republicans.
You know, a little bit about, you mentioned the Beach City Republicans. Can you tell us a little bit about your story, how you got started, how you got involved in this?
Absolutely. So when Obamacare was passed at the dead of night in late March 2010, I began writing. I wrote locally to my the Daily Breeze. I began submitting other articles to other platforms. I was able to write longer pieces for the Daily Breeze in the past, and then the editing started to change. I began to reach out to local partisan clubs. When the congressional seat opened up, my congresswoman was Jane Harmon, and she finally announced she was going to resign. I began also getting involved in local campaigns. There was a Tea Party event. I did that. That's when I started finding out about the Beach Cities Republicans. I went to the first meeting early 2012. And let me know if you need me to slow down to take a note or anything. Yeah. That's fine. So I began there. David Hadley was the president of the Beach Cities Republicans at the time. The club has been around since 2000, 2001. I think it was a response to George W. Bush's epic and somewhat surprising victory that year. People wanted to make a difference here in California as well. And so there was that. I began working on other campaigns with the club. A new president came along, Evan Chase, and he had a vision of reaching out to the community, to churches, to small businesses, etc. I got more involved. I wrote more locally as well as nationally. I write for townhall.com as well. I'm a contributor. It's a nationally recognized conservative website. One of my articles was published today. I can show that to you later. I also submit to Canada Free Press and also Barbed Wire. So I'm a writer, I'm a journalist, as well as an activist. All of those came together really well working with the Beach Cities. 2015, the previous president was termed out. People encouraged me to run, and I did, and now I'm the president.
I'm also looking if you ever want, feel free to jump in. So it'll be like whatever comes to mind after the interview. But can you also tell us a little bit about your individual story? As far as like how you became a political activist, a writer, journalist, just a little bit about background information about you.
Sure. I've been interested in history, especially political history, since I was a kid. There was a series of encyclopedias that had a collection of photos, memorabilia, political cartoons. I used to read that all the time. In 8th grade, we had our 8th grade history textbook. I used to read it just like a novel. I enjoyed the stories, I enjoyed the conflict and seeing how things emerged. That was really compelling for me. I remember, I was really interested in local government and just, federal government in general. Those are things that were very fascinating to me. I still remember when I was in 8th grade, I had asked the teacher, how many seats are in the House of Representatives? My teacher didn't know, but I wanted to know. And so from there, an interest in political history and government and politics, all of those things generated at an early age for me.
All right, so fast forward or flashback to last week, we had the Attorney General talk on the Whittier College campus. So I wanted to, I guess, start off by how you found out about the event and how you went about coordinating that.
Well, I follow a lot of the elected officials in the state. I'm on their, I get their newsletters. I also visit their websites from time to time to see if they're going to have events, Republican or Democrat. A friend of mine forwarded me the information about the Becerra Calderon conversation, and so I connected with other people and different groups all said, yeah, let's all go.
And how many people showed up?
I would say on our team there was at least 15, maybe as many as 17.
And that was just from the Beach City Republicans, or from all over?
From different groups all over. I mentioned LA County for Trump, We the People Rising. There was another guy named Jeremy. He also that was his first event. I guess a friend of a friend invited him, and we were glad to have him. He's a Trump supporter, very angry with the Attorney General and with the Majority Leader and his policies, and wanted to have a petition for a redress of their grievances.
Right. So 15 people between all your different organizations?
More like 17.
17?
And that's not every person in We the People Rising. That's not every person in LA County for Trump either. Not everybody can go to every event.
Right. And you've, I mean, it's been well documented you attending these events in the past. I think, was this the first one you did on a college campus?
Let's see. No, I've been to UCLA. They had, there was a meeting every Monday mid-morning of academics and students who want to protest the president, and I would show up and with some friends of mine, and we wanted to make the case for why do you not like the president and what is it about him. We were able to find some common ground with some individuals, and some of them are hostile. So that was at UCLA. I know that. So that's the one that comes to mind. I've also been to UC Irvine. That was my alma mater. I graduated from UCI. I had followed there was a different career path I was interested in that involved law as well as government to an extent.
Okay. So what class and degree did you, or degree, and then what was your class at UCI?
I majored in criminology, law, and society.
Okay.
CLS, they called it. I was thinking about being a lawyer. Law school didn't work out, though. I applied to 4 colleges, and I didn't get in. It was a very competitive year.
So you got your classification, you got your BA in criminal and law studies? Is that it?
So I got a double major, actually.
Okay.
Psych and social behavior, crim law and society. I minored in French. And then I went to Cal State Long Beach afterwards. When the legal career didn't pan out, I saw that it wasn't a pathway. I went back to, I got a teaching credential at Cal State Long Beach.
Okay. May as well make sure you're...
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and then you mentioned that you made appearances at UCLA to, I guess, try to have a dialogue with some protesters.
Yes.
Was that within what time span was that?
That was about 5 months ago, actually.
Okay.
And it was mid-morning on a Monday.
And you only made one appearance at UCLA?
I only did that one time.
Okay. So yeah, also back on the event, I guess the main reason we're here is to talk about the goals in attending. And,
yes.
You just go ahead and talk about that.
All right. Well, there is widespread outrage regarding the Attorney General's tenure, if you will. It already began poorly. The Attorney General has already declared war, essentially, on the Second Amendment and the First Amendment. During his hearing, he declared that the First Amendment does not protect institutions. It only protects individuals. That's wrong. Assemblyman James Gallagher made it very clear. The First Amendment, it protects the synagogue as well as the Jewish participant. It protects the church as well as the Christian. The First Amendment protects the institution as well as the individual believer. So right away, he was at fault. It was very clear during the deliberations in Sacramento that he was more intent on scaling back Second Amendment rights rather than protecting the Second Amendment rights of individuals. We have also seen him promoting the cause of illegal aliens rather than American citizens. He filed a lawsuit against the president because he wanted to build the wall along the southern border, which is the prerogative of our federal government to protect the citizens. He's now announced that he wants to sue the president and the administration because they've rolled back the unconstitutional abortion mandate that was in Obamacare. So we have an attorney general who's not protecting the rights of all citizens, but an attorney general who's pushing a very narrow agenda for selected special interests. And that is completely out of concert with his job. And as for the majority leader, because we also wanted to protest and hold him accountable, he has also done everything to promote the needs of special interests, the needs of illegal aliens, and the amnesty lobby, while ignoring the needs of the California residents. We have homeless veterans, we have foster kids, we have mentally ill in our communities who need help. Where any funding should be going, it should be going to helping Americans. So we as a team intended to protest and hold these elected officials accountable.
Actually, I think we'll get back to some of your points that you just made there, but I also wanted to make sure. So was your grievance more with the Attorney General or the State Assembly? Because you did have the fire in Calderon signs. So
yes, we did with both.
So it was with both of them. Mm-hmm. I mean, so you talked about your grievances with the Attorney General. What are some of your issues with the State Assembly?
Okay, well, I have mentioned, but I'll revisit.
Okay.
So this is a man who was spearheading Senate Bill 54, like the Sanctuary State Bill, which is going to make communities less safe. The sheriff of Los Angeles County openly opposed the bill, never changed his stance on it. No matter what amendments he said it shouldn't pass, it would undermine the capacity of local and federal as well as state officials, law enforcement officials, to do their jobs. Members of our team, the different groups essentially, had heard this testimony on many issues. So that's one thing. I'm very well aware too that he has personal habits that are contrary. I understand that he is a pot smoker. I understand that he's a drug addict too. This is what I've heard from different testimonies.
The Assemblyman?
Yes, the majority leader. And as yes,
Where did you hear this?
I can't share that with you because elected officials, I'd be compromising their safety.
Okay. Right.
But it's from elected officials I've heard this. So that's a problem in itself. He's also part of the corrupt Calderon family. Ron Calderon went to prison for bribery. In fact, he was removed from the state Senate in 2014. The Calderon family has long connections to corruption. And there were two people from Montebello in that same audience that you were there on Thursday who openly criticized him and even delivered a bunch of material and put him on the stage. That's just the beginning. The policy issues are terrible. It's just, we're taxed. We're overtaxed. The spending is terrible. Our roads are terrible. We have no public safety. Crime is up, and the legislature wants to push these social justice warrior talking points. How is that helping us?
What social justice warrior talking points were you referring to mainly?
So we're talking about radical abortion on demand at any cost, any time at the taxpayer's dime. Radical restrictions on the Second Amendment, as I mentioned with Javier Becerra. We've seen more gun control measures passed. We have seen this unjustified commitment to these green energy policies where there's no science or research to back up using those. They were going to attempt to push out all carbon vehicles, and they're still trying to push that agenda. We have shadow governments that are getting funding from Sacramento. There's no accountability and no oversight from the taxpayers in this state. And then the illegal immigration issue on top of that. And of course, they wrap all of this up in targeting the president, routinely structuring themselves in opposition to the president. This is outrageous. We don't need this political one-upsmanship. We need leadership and good governance. And the elected officials, with Mr. Calderon and Mr. Becerra as representatives of that, are not doing their job.
And so do you feel that you were... that you achieved the goal in, voicing your discomfort at the event?
Absolutely. And we had people in the audience who shared their gratitude that we called them out. You'll notice that Attorney General Becerra refused to answer the question regarding the money that would be spent and how much protecting the DACA recipients. Excuse me. We have students in the state of California who are struggling to find jobs and struggling to find placements in colleges. The cost of college is going up, and the policies proposed by the Democratic majority are not going to help. They're making it worse. They're putting all this energy towards illegals. Where's the attention paid to the tax-paying citizens and their kids? So that was one thing you'll notice. You'll also notice that there was this arrogance. They claim to want to have a conversation. What they're more interested in doing is militantly pushing their agenda with no regard for the best interest of the community. Here's the fact. 80% of the residents in the state of California, Democrat, Republican, and Independent, did not want a sanctuary state bill, and they do not support sanctuary cities. And yet you heard Ian Calderon declare that he was proud of that vote that he cast, and he claims that this country belongs to illegals. No, it doesn't.
Where was that statistic from? That you
UC Berkeley. They did the study. It was a survey. And I've spoken to Democrats and other Hispanic communities. They don't want sanctuary city, but they're afraid to speak out because they're afraid they'll be hurt, that they'll be pilloried as racist or killed.
So the UC Berkeley statistic was primarily from people in California. That
Yes, survey. Yeah, and it met all the methodologies.
And so from what I understand too, the way that the event was formatted was like I guess like a Q&A kind of thing where you fill out a card.
Yes.
And so did you participate in that at all? Or were you
I did. I submitted. Others submitted. They wouldn't allow me to submit other cards, and I respected that. I had one question.
Okay, so it was one card per person. And if you wouldn't mind, what was the one question that you, I guess, attempted to have answered?
So I can't remember the specific question I wrote. I took a photograph of it. But what I indicated was, I basically said, you're violating your oath of office. When are you going to step down? The Attorney General is not upholding the Constitution. He's not defending the rights of American citizens, of California citizens.
So realistically, who would you like to see replacing the Attorney General?
Wow, that's a great question. I love it. There's a gentleman named Steve Bailey. I know he's already thrown his hat in the ring. I've spoken with him briefly.
Can you spell his name?
Stephen, S-T-E-P-H-E-N, Bailey, B-I-L-E-Y, B-A-I-L-E-Y, excuse me. So I know he's thrown his hat in the ring. I mean, my preference, of course, would be somebody very much, if he wasn't the U.S. Attorney General, I would love to see Jeff Sessions being our Attorney General at the state level, but he's doing an excellent job at the federal level, of course. That's a great question. Let's see, if I have to be somewhat more realistic, someone who would be fit for the job and who's alive and would be in the state to do it, I'd have no problem seeing someone like Tom McClintock, who's currently a congressman in Northern California. He'd be an excellent Attorney General.
So also at the event, you talked about how they didn't really answer any of your questions, and it did end, from what I understand, a bit abruptly. I mean, do you feel that you had any hand in that, and people you brought with you?
I'm sorry?
So the event, it seemed to have ended a bit abruptly. I understand it was supposed to go for a bit, at least an hour. It ended at about 40 minutes in.
Okay.
Probably even that. Do you feel like you had any hand in causing that event to end so abruptly?
I think the real problem is that, like myself, we have Californians all over the state who are angry, and we don't see an elected political class that is responsive, let alone respectful to our concerns. And Mr. Becerra got to hear that and see that, as did Majority Leader Calderon. And rather than be held accountable for raising our gas tax, pushing the cap and trade program, which will raise the cost of business, endangering the lives of American citizens, California citizens, with open borders for illegals, promoting their needs, refusing to own the fact that they're misusing our money, they chose to cancel the vendor league.
So, and then, obviously you've done this in the past, so were you surprised that they...
Done what in the past?
The one is that those are in England, correct?
Done what? What do you mean? Like attending town halls and things like that?
For Javier Becerra.
Okay, you mean like he had one in Ontario, yes.
Yeah, and from what I understand, there was one in Inglewood as well that you were at. That was the one dominated in the other times.
That had Maxine Waters, though. That wasn't a Becerra event. Okay. That's all.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
But, I mean, my point is you have made appearances in the past.
Yes, I have.
At town hall events. And were you surprised in any way that they didn't really address any of your concerns?
Yes, I am. They should be responding to, and not just verbally, but with actions and decisions to do what's right. And they're going to get an earful from me and every concerned Californian until they start doing their job or till they're out of the job.
And how do you feel that the...
and I want to add, by the way, I was thrown out of the Maxine Waters Town Hall. It was wrong. And you can add this as a record. I actually confronted her in Washington, D.C. about 2 weeks ago. I was there for about a month ago now. It was Friday at the Rayburn building, and she knew I was there. She actually summoned me into her office, and I called her out on everything from her disdain for black communities, the public safety issues, that she promotes illegals ahead of Americans. She had the audacity to say to me that the illegals are here to stay. No, we're not going to tolerate this lawlessness. I have black friends who have been pushed out of work. We have friends and family members who have lost loved ones to illegals. So I want to make that very clear. Yes.
Oh no, that's actually a very interesting point. 'Cause I did want to bring up the fact that you like you said, you were escorted out of the Inglewood event. Were you surprised in any way that no action was taken against you at Whittier?
No, I'm not surprised. It's called the First Amendment. I'm allowed to criticize my elected officials.
Yeah. I mean, so we saw the video feed, and the campus safety officers that were there came over and spoke with you a couple times.
Sure.
Can you share what they had to say to you?
Well, they were just saying, first of all, don't hold your signs too high. Don't block other people. That was one thing. And that was towards the end, they were saying, if you keep calling out, we will ask you to leave.
Right.
But after that, within 2 seconds, the 2 elected officials left. They left.
So how many times did you interact with the officers then? During the entire event?
I'm trying to remember. There was only maybe twice they talked to me directly, but there were other people who were next to me and they were talking to them. Keep in mind that these public forums, we are well within our rights as individuals, every person is, to speak out, to demand answers. I'd like to remind you that you have people on the left who have attacked congressmen. Tom McClintock, I mentioned, had to be escorted out of a forum because they threatened his life. They have trespassed on private property. Dana Rohrabacher's office in Newport, I think it's in Huntington Beach. People were breaking property. They attacked one of the staffers. So what we're doing as citizens, we are engaging and demanding accountability from our elected officials. We're not disrupting events. We're demanding answers, and we want a redress of grievances. I find it kind of fascinating. I find from the press in general, there is no accountability or light that is shown on the aggressive and abusive behavior of the Democratic Party and their left-wing agitator activists, like the cases I've just shown to you. I certainly hope that you start looking into those.
So I want to stay on it, but how do you feel that the safety officers handled the situation? Were you happy with the way that they approached you?
Yes, they did. I told you predominantly was to make sure that we weren't blocking people.
Okay. And there was, they did threaten to kick you out, but they didn't need to. I'm just asking because you've been on the other side of the equation. You've been removed before, so I just wanted a perspective of how.
I'm sorry, being on the other side of the equation.
Yeah, you've been escorted out of events by police officers.
Yes, and sometimes I was, there's one time in Cudahy, and I respected their wishes and I left. But what's happening more often in city council meetings, like in Cudahy and in Huntington Park, elected officials are picking and choosing who gets called out of order, depending on their political views. This has happened in Cudahy. That's a video I could show you. You have mothers and fathers being escorted out because they clap, or they laugh, or they show enthusiasm for a speaker's comments. What's going on here? This is draconian tyranny, what's happening. Women who are twice my age, mothers, grandmothers, get escorted out. We're seeing a massive abuse and an attempted clampdown on the First Amendment because of these corrupt politicians who don't like being held accountable.
So the times that you were escorted out, were you asked to leave by the officials in attendance, or was it just the individual law enforcement officers that escorted you out?
Sometimes it's a little bit of both. I'm not sure how that relates to Whittier.
I'm just trying to get an assessment on how they handled the event.
I would say generally they did the right thing. They handled it really well. They just ensured that other people were allowed to be heard or to speak. Because obviously we're from the campus paper, so I also wanted to ask if your appearance was anything specific to the college in any way. I didn't go there because it's Whittier College. Okay. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
I went there because Javier Becerra and Ian Calderon were going to be there. Okay.
So, do you plan to continue doing events and appearing at talks like this in the future?
Absolutely. We intend to expose the arrogance and the lack of accountability of these elected officials. We intend to make it very clear to the media, to the public, and to those elected officials. As my friend Shannon would say, the sheep are not asleep. We are aware, and we will not tolerate. We can't allow this government cannot continue to undermine the rights of citizens, to ignore the needs of the most vulnerable citizens in our communities. I have driven out of downtown LA, and every time I see a homeless veteran, this is wrong. Where is the care and the attention for the homeless veterans? The men and women who fought for our country and fought for our values and our rights, including your right to be here and to record and to report. But illegal aliens are in this country against our laws, and they're getting benefits, they're getting financial aid, they're getting legal support. This is outrageous. We have young children who are in terrible schools. Some of them don't even have a teacher. Some of the schools are not even safe. Where is the funding? Where are the resources? Where is accountability for our children? Black communities are decimated by illegal immigration. Why hasn't the Attorney General taken attention to deal with that issue? And because of these and many other grievances, people like myself, We the People Rising, LA County for Trump, we intend to confront and hold accountable as many elected officials as possible, to expose illegal events, like having town halls to teach illegals how to avoid capture and deportation for breaking our laws. We intend to expose these. We intend to hold people accountable. We insist to see our government beginning to represent the rights of the people and not the interests and the illegals.
So, as far as the way you're expressing yourself at these events, like a Q&A question on a note card's not good enough for you?
The problem is, you'll notice, I mean, as I said before, they don't listen, or they pick and choose. Did you not notice? Majority Leader Calderon sees a question and he says, this is a political question. They're all political questions. They deal with policy and political officials making decisions. So where does he get the idea that he can decide which questions are and are not acceptable? That's wrong. What should have happened is he reads the question and then could say, if necessary, because this is a certain type of event, I'm not allowed to respond to it or whatever. But he deliberately refused. This is an example of the arrogance and the disregard for the will of the citizens in this state.
Do you have a little bit more respect for him if he took that approach? If he read the question and said, I'm going to respectfully not answer this, or whatever the case may be?
That would have been a little better. Daryl Issa did that at one of his town halls in San Clemente. That's exactly what he did.
And then also, we wanted to clarify too, because when the school president and student body president were up on stage with a lot of boos going around, was that not directed towards them, or was that directed at them as well?
If there were any boos, it would be if they were trying to praise or give some kind of honor to the elected officials. They are not worthy of honor for the routine disregard for the very oaths of office they took. You know, I recognize their efforts and say I'm glad that he's involved in student government, and that if the president of the college is committed to equality education, I respect that too. But for people to give undue honor to these officials who are undermining their oaths of office, we are fully within our rights to show disapproval for that.
Okay, so all those boos and jeers were directed at those two elected officials, not the school administrators.
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm just asking, because there were like chance of lock him up, and I wasn't sure if that was directed at our student body.
Are you seriously saying that? I find that's I can't believe you would even assume that. Really?
It's difficult to tell.
Yes.
Are you kidding me?
Just wanted to clarify.
Are you kidding me? I'm just flabbergasted. You really think that we would chant about a young man who's a student body president that he should go to jail?
No, I'm just.
For what reason?
He was on stage with the mic.
How
though,
could
so
you
it's
possibly
kind of
not know that? Seriously? I'm just offended. I can't believe you would say something like that.
I
Who are
think
the
that was
ones
the
who are
case
committing the crimes in this state? Becerra, misusing his public resources.
Yeah.
I have the highest respect for individual undergrad or graduate students who want to demonstrate leadership. I just hope that it's in line with constitutional limited government. That's ideal, but the bottom line is our outrage, our upset. What did I say at the beginning? It's a petition for redress of grievances against elected officials. Majority Leader Calderon and the Attorney General, Becerra.
I'm just making sure that you're that you don't have any grievances or issues with the school. But I just want to make sure we're all on the same page there.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you continue to do you plan to have more talks or more appearances at colleges, or is it like you said, just wherever the attorney general?
I intend to go to colleges. I think it's important that young people need to understand. I'm finding that predominantly they're left or left-leaning, and a lot of it's divorced from facts. It's divorced from any basis in biology or economics or any other factual evidence, and it's time to confront that. Colleges have turned into predominantly indoctrination centers. Individuals are not free to speak or think for themselves. I was at UC Berkeley. I think, did you follow up on what happened to me in late August?
In late August,
You didn't? Well, let me catch you up to speed. I go to Berkeley. It's supposed to be the cradle of free speech in California, correct? The free speech movement was reinstated, if you will. So me and 20 other people of all backgrounds throughout the state of California show up wanting to promote free speech, open dialogue. I'm a Trump supporter. Want to hear why people do or do not support the president. Some people are willing to listen. One guy was very hostile and was eventually willing to listen to me. He was of Persian descent. He had told me some things I didn't know or needed to check into about Iran, for example. Within an hour, instead, the Berkeley police seated Martin Luther King Jr. Park, and Antifa thugs dressed in black with covered hoods, covered faces, which is against the law, by the way, took over the park. I was chased down the street. My hat was stolen. My cape was stolen. My glasses were broken. I had to run into a gas station to hide, and I was spit at and cursed at. Now, please tell me, why are the police not defending the rights of citizens to exercise their First Amendment rights? Speaking of which, where's Javier Becerra? Why isn't the Attorney General investigating this massive abuse of the First Amendment on public property where public resources to protect and defend are not being properly utilized? Where's the Attorney General of the United States wants to investigate, but why won't my Attorney General investigate? And I had a question about that too regarding the First Amendment, which I didn't get to ultimately submit. So,
do you mind sharing that question that you?
The question was, does the First Amendment? Are you going to ensure the full exercise of the First Amendment on college campuses? Essentially, I didn't get to ask that. I didn't get to submit that.
I mean, you talked about how college campuses have become indoctrination centers. Do you feel that way about the private liberal arts colleges in Southern California, such as Whittier?
It depends. I know that many of the colleges in Claremont are overrun with this liberalism. I know Swarthmore College also has embraced a lot of this left-leaning ideology and many of the talking points. I think a lot of it has to do with the donations and the money, where it's coming from. I'm aware of funding sources like George Soros and other left-leaning organizations that want to push the narrative a certain way. If I'm different, there's more about Whittier College I need to know that I'd like to learn. Okay. In fact, do you mind if I ask, is there a political philosophy? I know Claremont, McKenna is conservative, for example. I'm aware of that. I know that they defend free speech rights, and they punished a Black Lives Matter group for scaring away a guest speaker. Could you tell me? I don't know enough about Whittier College, honestly.
Well, it's a small liberal arts school with Quaker values, so it's respect to the individual, and they do teach. I don't know how you would describe it, but a lot of well, we try to focus on humanities. Lately, we've been resources have been going more towards STEM and business, which I'd argue is maybe against the liberal ideology, but. As far as everything I've been taught is really focused on the First Amendment. I'm a journalism major, a communications major, so information and information being made available to the public as often as it can is my
Matthew
priority.
Park,
Yes.
right? Got it.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, were your parents, or do you have brothers and sisters who are also into journalism?
My brother is in nursing school right now. I have one brother; he's in nursing school, and both my parents were working in the medical field.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So this is a departure, but it doesn't make it any less important. A free press is essential. I don't challenge that.
Okay.
I'm part of that.
Yeah.
So, absolutely. Do you have a Republican club at your campus?
We do.
Oh,
but
that's good.
I don't know how active they are. I wouldn't be able to tell you what how many members they have. I know they do exist. I did hear about them last year. They took a field trip to was it the Reagan or the Nixon library?
I think it was the Reagan.
Yeah, I think it was the Reagan library. And but that's all I can think about them, to be honest. Yeah.
And is there a Democratic club?
Not like a specific Democratic.
There is not a Democratic club at Whittier College. Really? That's a first.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. Okay, so I have a little more hope about your college then. It sounds like it's a more conservative leaning campus. I don't know yet. You know, I mean, the absence of a... Are there any progressive clubs or left-leaning clubs?
Yeah, there are.
Really? What do they call?
There's quite a lot of them. I mean, you know, I consider our newspaper one of them. It's
You're a left-leaning group?
not like a left-leaning group, but I'd say we're upholding the values of our school, and that might be seen as more left-leaning. But to answer your question, maybe we have there's a feminist coalition.
There's a GSA.
What, GSE?
Gay Street Alliance.
Okay, got it.
LGBTQ friendly.
Well, I'm kind of curious. How does that square with the Quaker values? I thought Quakers were like it's very biblical, you know, natural marriage, things like that.
No, it's respect to the individual and the freedom of thought. So there's a lot of like I said, a lot of students who are majoring in the humanities, like sociology, anthropology, philosophy, English, and media. Right?
Do you have Trump supporters that are open about their views? They wear the hat, like me?
I know there was someone...
No one dressed like you, I mean. Yeah.
But, like, there was someone in my dorm that had, like, a Trump poster, but, yeah, I don't know.
Do people feel afraid to share their views?
Not that I'm aware of.
I'm not, you know, I'm not too aware of that. Yeah, I haven't met very many Trump supporters, and, you know, it's... Like you said, they might just be afraid to share their views, so it's hard to gauge.
I hope we can change that.
Well, see, I just had a question about your big get up here. Do you? I mean, I've seen all your videos and you know the way you made your appearances. Do you? Is this like a normal thing? Is this like your?
I have a lot of Trump shirts, and I just find I like wearing them. This past weekend, I was very excited because I saw the president enacting some great promises, fulfilling them, reinstating the primacy of the First Amendment, especially religious liberty. The rollback of the Obamacare abortion mandate, we're seeing further enforcement of our immigration laws, and a long-standing executive order directing Department of Justice and all federal agencies to or actually, it's not a mistake, it's an affirmation, to ensure the primacy of First Amendment rights, especially on religious issues. Jeff Sessions said it best: no person should have to choose between their faith and their job. There should be no conflict. And so that to me is something to celebrate. I found two people today, they love my hat and they love that I'm a Trump supporter. I'll be honest also, I dressed up a little bit for this because I don't hide my great appreciation for this president.
So what's like the ratio of I guess of like people who react negatively to people who...
Great question. You know what? It's been predominantly positive, actually. I mean, the only thing, there'll be small challenges. I was in Downey in front of the courthouse, and two people said nasty things, and it didn't matter. We just blow it off. I was in Whittier, actually, before the event, and there was a gentleman there, and he, you know what he said to me? And I had my hat on. It was only my hat. I think I was wearing a different shirt before I changed. And he said to me, "I admire you, and I respect your right to wear that hat, but I think Donald Trump is don't want to say it in public."
Sure.
He said, "You're entitled to your opinion. I don't care, but I respect you for doing it." Same thing has happened to me in downtown LA. I walk down the street and people will say, "I don't like Trump, but I respect you for wearing that shirt here in LA." It should get to a point, though, where none of us should be afraid to share our political views or who we support. There were Bernie supporters I saw at one event. I talked to them. I don't shame them or demean them for supporting Bernie Sanders or even Hillary Clinton. So I wish that there was that kind of reciprocity, which goes back to the Attorney General not protecting people's rights. We're seeing this routinely. There's so many abuses taking place, and the Attorney General isn't doing anything about it. It's unacceptable.
Okay, so for clarification, I think the main thing I wanted to touch on was the way that Kansas State handled the situation. You felt they handled it appropriately and efficiently.
Yes, they did. I think that they need to give us the same opportunities that we've seen Democratic and liberal activists take advantage of in town halls up and down the state. Jeff Denham got an earful from his constituents and liberal activists. So did Doug LaMalfa up in Modoc County. The same thing with what Darrell Issa endured. We do the same thing that they do, but for some reason we're constantly told to put your signs down, or as they were saying in some cases to the individuals next to me, be quiet or keep it down. But they don't say it to anybody else, and that's really offensive. There's still a double standard. It's not fair.
But you said, they told you multiple times to keep it down, or they'd have to remove you. Was there ever
They didn't tell me multiple times that they were going to remove us. They didn't threaten us. Okay. And in many instances, like in Ontario, the police respected our stance. We're pro-law enforcement by and large. And that's another thing, too. The Attorney General is not pro-law enforcement. He's pro-special interest. He's pro-pushing an agenda. That's not pro-law enforcement. Especially, and the same thing for Calderon. Every major law enforcement agency in the state of California opposed Senate Bill 54. And how did Calderon respond? He voted for it. They have no respect for our law enforcement either.
So was there ever any, you talked about how you're not afraid to wear your Trump stuff around. Was there ever any thought in your mind that you might be removed from the event on Thursday?
No.
And you weren't fearful about that in any way? Because I think you have had run-ins in the past where you've been removed.
Okay,
right?
I qualify. It came through a little bit, but when I noticed that the police were, by and large, allowing us to exercise our First Amendment rights, I didn't want it. By and large, it was just towards the end, and they say, but I think they just did it pro forma because the powers that be were expecting them to, which is very strange because Ontario, the police supported us, and it was just. Something else about Ontario, because you are aware of that event. I think that's what you had mentioned. They were having unlawful presentations, teaching illegals how to break our laws. They were showing them how to. We've even seen places where they have voter registration forms. Why are they there? The illegals aren't supposed to be voting, are they? What's going on here? So that's something else that wasn't mentioned in that report in March. That this was supposed to be an illegal alien clinic teaching people how to get free health care, how to get free legal services, how to get free food stamps. This is outrageous. And it's criminal. And then you've got the Attorney General who's headlining the event. This is outrageous.
Now, there were also reports that Whittier PD showed up. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but did you interact with the local police department in any way?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Just campus staff.
Yeah.
Campus security. That's what I had seen emblazoned.
Yeah. Okay. You're good, yeah.
Yes. I might as well ask. I'm curious. You were able to tell me things about the campus. May I ask, are you Trump supporters, Hillary supporters, Bernie, Gary Johnson?
I'm not a Trump supporter, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who did you vote for, if I may ask?
I voted for Hillary.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about you?
I'm the same.
You voted for Hillary. Can I ask why?
I don't like Trump. That was that simple. It wasn't like I was pro-Hillary. I just thought one was clearly more suitable than the other.
Okay.
Yeah, I can expand on that too.
I would like you to.
Yeah, because I feel like Trump has been threatening. You talk a lot about threatening the First Amendment.
Yes.
And I feel that way about Trump, but specifically in regards to the press. You talked about the way that some of the Attorney General has been threatening the church system. Through the First
Yes.
Amendment. Yeah. So I probably feel the same way just about the press, because I feel like the press is a very important part of our American society as a democracy.
Yes.
So I do feel that even though it's most of it is attacked as like fake news or like the evil media, I feel like if you're trying to set the precedent that the people can't trust the press, it's just not a good thing.
I would have to disagree. You realize, for example, the press was convinced. The large conglomerates of media, CNN and 538, they were convinced, and they had rhetoric and stats that said that Hillary Clinton had a 98% chance of winning, and it didn't happen, did it?
No, but that was that was the most...
That's an example.
Yeah, that's one example. However, that is one version of... that was the most presentable version of the truth at the time on election night.
No, it wasn't.
It was wrong.
It was very wrong.
That's what the press had. And it's not always about being right. It's about getting the most obtainable version of the truth to the public so we can all make self-informed decisions.
Okay. And back to Berkeley in August. They had people claiming I was a white supremacist. You know who I went with? I went with Marco Gutierrez, Joe Vival, and Marco's son, Michael. They're all of Mexican and Puerto Rican descent. And yet we have seen routinely the media writing terms like alt-right, white supremacists. Spanish media have labeled me, my Latino friends, and my black friends white supremacists. Do you think that's journalistic integrity and a good practice?
I honestly don't know enough about you to know if that would be true or not.
You're not sure whether I'm a white supremacist or not. Really?
Yeah, I'm not.
Did you see our group? We had Harim Usiel, who is Jewish as well as Hispanic. You could see it. You were a witness. Did you not see that?
I mean, you were with people of other races, yeah.
Yes, I was.
I'm not saying you are a white supremacist. I'm just saying I don't know if you're not.
And do you understand how? So I'm not attacking you,
personally.
but I'm showing you when you say people don't trust the press. This is why. These are smears. These are unjust. I opened up the LA Times, and they have an article about a U.S. senator in Alaska running for re-election. This was in 2014. Why am I reading about a Democrat U.S. senator in the LA Times? Why am I not reading about Dianne Feinstein and there's corrupt dealings that there have been alluded to. There's pharmaceutical contracts that she's gotten. Why am I not reading about that? Let's talk about bias here in the local paper. Sure. Why am I reading about illegal aliens and their sob stories? Why am I reading about, this illegal alien can't buy a home because his DACA paperwork, was expired? Why am I reading about this? It's very clear. There's an agenda to promote a narrative that illegal aliens are not bad or destructive, or that there's nothing wrong with them breaking our immigration laws and crossing our border and coming into the country illegally. Why am I reading about Darrell Issa and how a constituent in his district, her father's about to be deported? There's a rigid agenda. LA Times, our dishonest president. That's considered an editorial series. It's an opinion piece. It borders on slander. And now that's why you see a massive distrust of the media. It's liberal, it has an agenda, and it pretends to be objective.
Sure. I guess I like to think people are smart, and we can, especially with the internet now, there's so much information available.
You're right.
So it's really, it's really up to us to make informed decisions and not simply just antagonize the media, because we should be more inclined to trust the media than the federal government, in my opinion.
Are you saying that Trump issuing tweets amounts to the federal government?
I'm not talking about his tweets. I'm just talking about his public statements he's made about the media.
Seriously, catch me up to speed. What's one of the things that he's said?
Well, I think
And let me think. I mean, there's a lot of things that have come out and about. I'll be honest with you. The president, I care the most about what he does.
Sure.
During a debate, he said, we'll raise the number of H-1B visas. And I was like, no. And he changed his mind. He'll say stuff off the cuff. And sometimes I think it is to bait liberal media to jump on it. And then they're exposed as wrong. That's one example. But give me an example of what he said. No, it is serious. We don't want to have a society where it's... I'll be the first. Mike Pence was experimenting with state-sponsored media. That's wrong. When did he say that? The media is the enemy of the people. That's pretty severe. When did he say that? I just do that to make sure it doesn't run out of me.
New Times, February 17, 2017. The news media is the, quote, enemy of the American people.
Let me see it. Let me see it. Trump calls the news media the enemy of the American people. Okay. President Trump, extraordinary of the nation's press organizations, wrote on Twitter, the news media is... So I'm going to look at his Twitter piece here.
Okay.
I hope it shows it. I don't see it. Where's the tweet? Here, the fake news media. Do you notice right there? Do you see that? It wasn't quoted properly. This is to my audience right here. The fake news media. Do you see that already? That's an example of it. When CNN, remember CNN was pushing the Russia narrative? Do you remember that? And then Project Veritas went underground, and you heard Van Jones and other staffers in the organization admit that it's a bullshit narrative. And then CNN's ratings tumble. The fake news media, that's an example of it. And the president is right to call them out. That's an example of why there isn't trust. Or the Russia narrative. It's falling apart faster than... You have a Republican and a Democrat who are... Did you see that, though? Did you see? The New York Times twisted it. That's a big problem. And that's becoming routine. Or let's talk about the Puerto Rican governor or the mayor of San Juan.
This is all off the record, by the way. I stopped recording.
Okay, I'm still recording, and I'm allowed to record as a public official, as a citizen, and that's fine. And I think it's important. This is one of the reasons I do record, ultimately, because people have routinely twisted me. The LA Times article claiming I'm unemployed. I'm not. I'm a journalist, and I get donations to do that. So that's an example. Let's talk about, that's one example of it. That just for myself. And then you had another rag calling me anti-gay. I'm not. I have gay friends. I don't endorse their lifestyle. Doesn't mean I hate them. Other things in the media, you need to hear this because I'm hoping you as the new generation of media personnel learn from the mistakes of these organizations. We're called anti-immigrant. Some of my closest friends are immigrant. That's a lie. And we have had to press against media to change that. That's abuse. Yes, KQED did that, in fact, and we had to challenge them. Some press have become responsive and they'll change the rhetoric. But there is a pattern of abuse, distortion, and omission that we see in the modern media, corporate media, LA Times, the Tribune Company.
I just want to real quick, I did put you back on the record because...
Please do.
I mean, you did say that the LA Times reported that you're unemployed, which was not true. You've been reported as anti-gay, which is also not true.
Yes.
I just want to make sure we have this all.
Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you. Can I see it just to make sure it's recording? Okay, that's excellent. And this is good, and thank God for Breitbart. And by the way, I've called out Breitbart. They've made mistakes. I wrote 2 articles for Town Hall. Breitbart fail and Breitbart flail. They claimed that Karl Rove was a gun grabber. Nope, he wasn't. So what you said, I absolutely endorse. That we as citizens are finding more resources to challenge. A lot of these we can get multiple stories to get a full narrative. More importantly, I said I'm a journalist, freelance myself. I'm able to report on the ground and say, no, that's not what happened. I actually recorded it. Grindall 61, Robin, she has her camera. We all get to be journalists in a sense, in that very down-to-earth sense. And those are the things that are happening. I had to challenge the LA Times again, routinely disrupt. What happened at Maxine Waters' event? We've seen people in town halls shouting all the time disapproval with a statement or booing. And I was removed for no other reason than I was a Trump supporter. I was harassed by a black woman who routinely called me nasty names. And there was a large black man who pushed me. And the LA Times did not report that. Why is that? It doesn't fit a narrative. Because one of their chief editorial series, Our Dishonest President, that's offensive. Where has he lied? When did he lie? And this is the other thing when it comes to fake news. Andrew Klavan is a video, you can see it on Prager University. It's not just saying things that aren't true, but it's using different standards. For example, when it comes to the discussions about Russia and potential collusion, which is falling apart faster than I can't think of a proper metaphor, but it's falling apart. They'll go, what did Trump do and what did he say? But when Devin Nunes had information on corruption and collusion with the Democratic Party, the media goes after Devin Nunes and said, who told you this and where did you get the information? They don't look at the substance of the information, they look at the source. Why the double standard? Republican versus Democrat. That's not fair. That's not truthful. That's not just. Some of the editors for Breitbart have even admitted we have a pro-Trump or a pro-populist stance. They're open about it. What needs to start happening, like you told me your political aspirations and the views of the college, the media needs to start being open about their biases. And it's okay, we can handle it. Different sources make it possible. The foundation of the Republic is based on that. There were Federalist and anti-Federalist newspapers, and it was clear. The problems have emerged where we have objective media like Walter Cronkite. He was a liberal, and he admitted it, and he did not give respect to conservative points of view. And you can be sure that affected his reporting. We were winning the Vietnam War, but his testimonies on TV and to the national public ruined people's appreciation for our military victories. A bad media does indeed undermine a government, undermining our military. That's a problem.
So how would you, you talked a lot about fake news. I guess I also want you, how would you define fake news?
What I define as fake news, for example, having a different set of standards in order to push a narrative, much of it not based on fact. LA Times pushes a lot of information about the dangers of climate change. It borders on climate alarmism. The science isn't there. The statistics aren't there. The one study claiming that 99% of scientists believe in climate change has been debunked. It's based on one study. The methodology was very bad. It's more like 44% believe it's a serious issue. There's a lack of research. There's a lack of evidence. They claim to rely on unnamed sources which do not exist, or they refuse to substantiate in any meaningful way. And this becomes an excuse to draw up narratives that are unjust, that are untrue. And what you just said right there, we're not worried about the truth. We're worried about just getting the information we have. There was a movie, 1994, with Michael Keaton. It's called The Paper. And the editor of the paper said to him, "We only have to be right for one day." She was printing stuff that was knowingly false. That's unethical. It's immoral. And that's another reason why there is a massive distrust of the media. Trump did not create it. He exposed it. He didn't go over the media. He attacks this corruption, and it's pervasive.
You know, I know you guys do salad bar.
I gave you some clear examples of it. Like the New York Times article. He did not say the media. He said the fake news media. Did you not see that? You see?
Well, do you see how it could be perceived as an attack on the media?
No, I do not. Fake news media. He's not creating a narrative. He's responding to what we, as individual consumers of news, have noticed for a long time. And another key example of this. I've stated illegal alien. But what does the media often do? They change it to undocumented immigrant. That's wrong. That's not okay. I've written letters to the editor. They change the wording. That's not acceptable. Either you print it or don't print it. But they change it. Again, it's part of a narrative. Illegal immigration is not a bad thing. Illegal aliens are all in all good people, and it's okay for them to break into the country illegally. There's a narrative there. And it's wrong. And it's completely out of touch with the needs and concerns of working Americans.
One more question.
Yes.
Question. So, I mean, you talked about the immigration problems in this country, and then one of the chants at the event was Americans First. Can you elaborate on that?
It means putting American citizens first. Our government exists because of Americans. Every nation has that commitment and responsibility. Donald Trump said exactly that at the UN conference. That was his first speech. And he commended Mexico puts Mexicans first. Guatemala puts Guatemalans first. China puts Chinese first. That's an acceptable and necessary expectation of any government. The Constitution, we the people of the United States. Why is it that the United States is expected to be the broken women's shelter of the world? Why is it that our borders don't matter, but every other country? Mexico has a wall. Colombia has a wall. Israel has 2 walls. China has a wall. Why can't the United States have a wall? Why? Question mark.
So do you feel that by inviting immigrants in from Mexico, that we are, or not just from Mexico, but just inviting immigrants in, that we are like putting aside the priorities of our own people?
No. There's a difference again. Notice it? Immigrant or illegal. Come legally. We have a pathway to citizenship. Follow it. There's an expectation to assimilate. You become an American. You have a liberal arts college. I hope some of you have read in the curricula Henry de St. John de Crevecoeur. What is this American, this new man? He is a collection of all the others come together as a new man, committed to this culture, an American ideal. And I welcome people to do that. I do believe immigration should be lowered. We simply cannot take everybody. What I would like to see is that American values are appropriated, the values of individual liberty, state sovereignty, constitutional rule. These have enabled a strong, thriving republic. We are the longest lasting government with a constitution in the world. We have a recognition of Judeo-Christian values. They're implemented in our constitution. And these are opportunities that can happen in any country. Okay. I'm kind of curious. So you didn't like Trump because of the media attacks. Is that right?
That was my primary reason.
Really?
Yeah.
You felt he was a threat to the press?
Yeah, I still do.
Okay, in spite of what I've shared, but that's fine. At least we have a discussion.
Well, I mean, it's not just Trump, but it's just anytime the federal government, tries. I'm not saying he's the first and only one to do it, but anytime the federal government tries to control or regulate the press in any way, it's because it's the press's job to be critical of the administration.
It should.
So,
and I've been critical of the president as well. I don't accept everything he's done. would you say that he's attacking it? You're saying you still recognize him as attacking the press today?
I wouldn't be able to tell you anything in the past week or so that he's done. But
From his inauguration to today. So I debunked that one. He wasn't attacking the press. But there's a difference between corrupt press like CNN, and nobody's going to be perfect. But what we're seeing is that this is, and the intense hatred of this president is unparalleled. Obama, you had Operation Fast and Furious. President Obama seized the phone records of AP reporters. Did you know about that? You didn't know about that? Really? Did you? Eric Holder, the Attorney General, was seizing the phone records of AP reporters. Andrea Mitchell talked about it. She was astonished that this was happening. You didn't know about that? I'd urge you to look into that. Do a comparison. Don't do what the press does. I mean, this corporate media. Compare the treatment of Obama with President Trump, and you will see an untrammeled hatred of Trump out of nowhere in many cases, even when he was running for president. But with Obama, they never asked him substantive questions. This is a guy who seized the phone records of the DOJ seized AP reporter phone records. Operation Fast and Furious, where was the reporting on that? Look, the abuses of the Environmental Protection Agency. This man had an enemies list that would make Richard Nixon look like Willy Wonka. Sorry for the facetiousness. I'd urge you to look at that. You might change your mind. So,
thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, Matthew. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for taking the time to meet us.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for speaking with me.
Sorry, I was talking to him mostly, but you know, if you had any input,
I'm
should
new,
go ahead.
so I'm still learning.
That's fine.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Whoops, I thought this was only for me. Looks like all of you got to see it. Whoops. Well, anyway, did you see how I had facts ready for them? I had a response for everything. Did you notice how the article that was showed to me by Matthew Park, where it said Trump called the press the fake news? No, he did not. He called the fake news media as destructive, and it is. Absolutely. So I really appreciate this, guys. I'll have this up in about an hour and a half or 2 hours. Thanks for following. I might actually have learned some things myself. Sometimes I say stuff that I should pay more attention to. All right, I'll talk to you later.